My name is Peter Park, your moderator for the event. Before we even get anything started, we'd just like to make a land acknowledgement for the land that we're standing on, so I'm going to invite Tom to make that acknowledgement.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Awesome. So my name is Tom, and I'm second year pharmacology and therapeutics major. So before we get started tonight, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize that we're gathered here on the traditional territory, the traditional unceded territory of the Ganikahaga, which is one of the 6 nations that comprise of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy on Turtle Island. The Ganikahaga are also called the keepers of the Eastern Door. And the land, Montreal, is also in the language of the Ganikahaga. It's called the Jojage. So as a non-indigenous settler, I would like to recognize my privilege to be able to be here, and we wanted to acknowledge and respect the traditional custodians of the land and waters on which we live.
Thanks, Tom. We're absolutely delighted that all of you guys could make it, even the ones that are sitting in the corner. I'm sorry that you guys have bad angles, but we have one mic, and it's angled this way. So we'll try our best to look around. I'm just one of many people who helped put this event together tonight, including all the partners and clubs that you saw at the fair outside today. And we hope you enjoyed that fair. Those are all the clubs and resources available at McGill for you and a similar kind of topics. If you would like to learn more about some of the clubs and resources available, please feel free to speak to anyone with a name tag, and we'd be happy to connect you to an appropriate contact. So, the Men's Story Project. Men's Story Project was founded in 2008 by Dr. Josie Lair. She's actually right here tonight. Welcome to Montreal. Come all the way from DC. It was founded in San Francisco in 2008, and it has a mission to strengthen social norms around the world that support healthy masculinities and gender justice. Unfortunately, many social norms about masculinity often contribute to some of the injustices around the world. The Men's Story Project aims to challenge dominant masculinity norms with genuine self-expression. It celebrates the full spectrum of humanity for men and those who identify with maleness. Tonight, our presenters will share true, personal stories with you. They'll take a critical look at how notions of masculinity and gender relations have played out in their own life. Their experiences with masculine expectations, race, homosexuality, and even violence. There will also be a few video presentations tonight from different men's story projects across North America. Now, we are fully aware that these stories do not encompass all the male experience and all the men's stories. But we hope that this will be a meaningful starting point for our collective reflection and dialogue. I'd like to thank all the presenters that you see here tonight for their courage and their vulnerability and their willingness to share their stories, knowing full well that we're all work in progress. Can we just give a round of applause? After the live and video presentations, there will be a time for audience presenter discussions, where you, the audience, will have the opportunity to share your reflections, your reactions to the stories, and ask questions to the presenters, and possibly share some stories of your own if you would like. In the spirit of creating a safe space tonight, I want you to be aware that several of the pieces you'll be hearing tonight can be emotionally intense. As mentioned, some of the stories will explore topics like violence. So please do whatever you need and helpful for you to take care of yourself. Take a break, take a breath, take a break, talk about it with someone afterwards. And we actually have 2 active listeners from OSVER's Office for Sexual Violence Response, Support, and Education. 2 trained active listeners here tonight for your resource. Finally, we'd like to ask you to change all your phone settings to silent. I'm going to give you all a moment to change it to silent. If you would like to take photos, you may take photos, but please also make sure to turn off your flash if If you have it, especially in automatic mode. I don't think you want to be on the Apple commercial. People don't want to find that's okay. So again, you're allowed to take photos. However, we do have videographers here tonight, and any video recording will not be permitted for today's event. So yes to photos, no to video recordings. Again, we're all very delighted all of you could make it out here tonight. We're very excited for what we have in store for you. You've already met our first presenter, Tom. His piece will be about his journey of going from being bullied in middle school to finding peace and empowerment in bodybuilding while remaining truthful to his femininity and masculinity as a Chinese gay male. Please welcome Tom.
Thank you for the introduction, Peter. Growing up, I never had a sense of belonging to the masculinity or sense of manhood that they expected of me. Yet sadly, I conformed and strove to become one of them to get those points across. Bearing my head down, hoping the basketball guys don't notice me, they stormed into the classroom, pushing each other jovially. Basketball still bouncing up and down the floor with each stomping noise making me increasingly anxious. The room quickly filled up with their talk on how the game went. I was scared. I was desperate to get out of the classroom, but only found myself surrounded by the cold, hard cement walls. I was scared, like most of the time, praying that they won't make an eye contact. Until the nightmare struck, where one of the guys would walk towards me and pull my chin up, saying, "Chick, smile for me." Middle school memories in China were traumatic or painful to recall, especially the part on being bullied. How happy I was when counting down the days to go to high school. Fast forward to high school in the States, although there was less direct bullying, I was constantly, consciously and unconsciously being reminded of being the weak, nerdy Asian guy who happens to be gay and not very athletic. Sportsmanship was such a popular platform through which the guys had formed friendships with one another, and I felt extremely out of place for both the lack of representation of Asian gay male in sports and also the constant self-doubt of my own conforming masculinity. So I decided to change to meet the expectation of manhood, despite at the cost of being an inauthentic self. I was 18 at that time. So I started with bodybuilding and was on my way to being a man. Initially, I got into the sports because that's what guys around me did. After a year and a half of extreme dieting and training, I went from being 145 pounds to 200 pounds right now. And interestingly, I found guys who were more willing to talk to me and give me credibility, which is a luxury that I never enjoyed. Having always been a social outcast and an Asian gay male in this Western society, I felt that the bonds that I was developing with those other guys to be superficial and non-lasting. Nevertheless, I was welcomed to the club and was on my way being a man. As a man, immersed in a hyper-masculine Western culture, I was taught that you are supposed to dominate. Just like one of my male bosses notes on his office desk, as a man, you should always be powerful, full of drive and energy, and ready to handle whatever life throws at you. And you gotta do it all without showing much emotions, because that's how you be a man. Also, as a man, mental health isn't a thing. It is just an excuse used by the weak, the incapable, and the losers. I lived by those teachings until when I was almost 20, where I had a mental breakdown in the corner of the lab's reading room. Up to the moments of breakdown, I was holding so much emotion inside of me, and pouring it all out at once had left me physically drained, so weak to the point that I couldn't sit up, but to hang on to the wall and hear my mom's soothing voice over the phone as the only lifeline with my teary eyes closed. I was no longer the 200 pounds guy squatting 4 or 5 in the gym. Working 5 jobs, 2 internships, and being a full-time student. I was on my way to be a man. And finally, I was on my way to being a man, except my life was in danger. After all these ups and downs, after all this roller coaster of a ride to explore the full spectrum of humanity inside of me, including those society that labels as masculine and those identified as feminine, I learned another way of being a man that doesn't involve proving to others, getting competitive, and dehumanizing anything and anyone that doesn't fall into the traditional category of masculinity. I found comfort in talking about feelings and sharing emotions, and I was no longer confined to the rules that society had put on me. More so, I embrace and accept myself. There's so much more to cherish, enjoy, and reminisce about in life, and so much less to worry and concern about. Have we men break the chain that society had tied to ourselves and let go of what is expected of us? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. Our next piece, presented by Eunice, is a dialogue between 2 men and what it really means to be a man. One hyper-masculine man reluctantly opens up to his friend on his struggles with sharing his feelings and his fear of being seen as less of a man if people thought that he was not strictly adhering to male stereotypes. In this story, he learns that as people, we're all much more alike than different. Eunice.
Hi everyone. So just before I begin, I'd like to say that this is a dialogue that I've created by reflecting on many aspects of my personal life experience. Those are embedded in this dialogue that I will share with you today. Hey man. Hey. How are you doing? I'm good. Are you sure? You don't seem that well. I said I'm good. I don't want to talk about it. Why not? It's weird, man. It's weird. What do you mean? Look, man, I'm not gay. I can't talk about this stuff. Just tell me what's going through your mind, and I won't tell anyone. Swear you won't tell anyone. I promise. Look, man, I don't know how to say this, but I just don't feel like I'm tough enough. Why tough? Because I'm not tough, then the other guys are gonna think that I'm a girl and that I'm weak. Why would you care about what other people think? Because, this is how things always are, this is how things always will be, the way they're supposed to be. Girls, they get all emotional and dumb and stuff, and I can't do that because I'm a guy and I'm not gay. So tell me, what's really on your mind right now? I really won't tell anyone. You sound just like my ex. Your ex? You mean you and Zoe? Yeah, I had to dump her because she kept bothering me and she wouldn't let go. Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that you broke up. I thought she was great for you. She was trying to set me up. Set you up? How would she do that? She was setting me up, man. Girls are not into that stuff. I don't know about you, but I can't make her hate me if I'm not really manly enough for her. Or maybe she wants me to be gay. I really don't know what you're talking about right now. Well, girls, they don't want some beta guy who just talks about their feelings. They just want a guy who they take their money and then they're gonna sleep with real men. And I can't believe she thought I was a beta because I went to the gym and I don't even have a small... Listen, I don't want to hear about that, my man. Right, because that's gay. Quit saying everything's gay. And stop pretending it's such a bad thing. By the way, Zoe was not setting you up. She was trying to help you. Huh? Listen, man, you have some really deep issues, and if you keep them all bottled up, it's not good for you. I can't do much about it. I have to deal with it. And how are you gonna deal with it? I'm just gonna go get drunk, go smash some chicks. Is that really gonna make you feel better? Yeah? I mean, not really, but at least I'll feel like a man. Listen, you don't have to go through this. No one's forcing you to be this way, and you said yourself that you don't want to be this way. So why would you think in this kind of way? Cause I don't want to be a wimp. That's who I used to be. What do you mean by that? When I was a kid, I would get all emotional like a girl. Well, don't cut me off. Anyway, I remember when I was like 5 or 6 years old and I watched this cartoon character die and like I got all emotional, I cried about it, but I was too dumb to hide it. So then something was wrong with me, but my parents set me straight. My dad laughed at me in front of his friends and he called me a girl until I decided I'm not gonna be a girl anymore. It's tough, man, but you gotta do it. There was nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with a kid crying about a cartoon, and it's normal, and you shouldn't have needed to hide your feelings. Well, I don't know how to get rid of these feelings, man. Like, I don't know if you get it, but like, I'm still crying like a kid, it's just that without the tears this time. I remember when I was 13, and my mom would tell me, like, you have a beard, so you have to man up now, and like, what does that have to do with anything? And from that point, I decided I would never be emotional again, and I'm gonna be a man. But you're still crying, right? You're just hiding it better now. Yeah, and it sucks. Have you ever asked yourself why you're crying? Why you're in so much pain? I don't know, like, since I was a kid, I was always over-emotional, and like, my parents, they never told me they loved me or anything like that, so I should have never had any feelings in the first place. You know, like, my dad was a tough guy, and I was supposed to be like him. I'm so disgusted with myself. No girl will ever want me now. You're almost onto something. You just said why you're so unhappy, but you just don't realize it. It's the way that your parents treated you as a child. Come on, man, you don't believe in all that Care Bear stuff. Listen, all humans have feelings, and all humans deserve a safe space to express those feelings. Safe spaces are BS. Now you listen to me. When you were a kid, your parents should have just let you be a kid. There's nothing wrong with you. That's the real reason you're feeling bad about all of this. Drop the tough man act. That guy never existed and he doesn't even need to exist. You can be you. You can have feelings, you can have emotions, it's okay to feel them, and it's okay to talk about them. Geez, when did you become a therapist? I'm not a shrink, I'm just a friend. I feel better, but it's still weird, man. Like, my ex, like, whenever she would get all emotional, I'd tell her to cut it out. I don't want to be that guy, you know? It should be a normal thing to talk to your partner about your feelings. If you've had a rough childhood, they should be supportive and help you out, and help you figure all these things out. Not judge you or make fun of you. And if they do that, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, but they have an issue. You know, like, I just realized I screwed up bad with Zoe. She was trying to help me, but I thought she was trying to set me up. I don't know why she stayed with me all that time anyway. She must have saw some good in you that maybe you don't even see yourself. You think I could get her back? She's pretty hot. I'm not sure, man. She tried so hard to help you, but you kept rejecting her, and you never cared about how she felt, not even when it comes to how she felt about you. So I'm not sure if you can get her back. Damn. Like, as a guy, I can't really take care of people. Only chicks do that. Like, when I was a kid, only mom would take care of us when we got sick. That's not true, and your sexist attitudes are a major problem. It's not sexist, it's just facts. Well, when your mom would get sick, who would take care of her? Nobody? Look, we should all be good people and take care of others, whether we're male, female, or otherwise, and it's something that we should all do. And also, why was the last thing you said about Zoe was how hot she was? Is that really what you care about? Well, she was hot for reals. I had to say that so that no one is going to think, why are you so obsessed with not being gay? My father would murder me if you ever knew that, like, I like guys. I don't. I really don't. I really don't like guys. Believe me, man, I don't. Look, maybe you can't change what your father thinks, but you can change your own attitude. If you had a gay son, how do you want him to grow up? Would you want him to feel what you have been through? Or will you be supportive, so that when he sees his father, he'll look up to you and he'll want to be a man just like you?
Thank you, Eunice. Our next presenter, Kareem, will present a piece about his experience of coming out and dealing with everything that came after, from dealing with relationships, internal struggles with different people, how he's navigated all since. It's called Requiem for a Party of One and a few other people.
Hello. Although you guys already know the name of the piece, I'd like to say a few words before I begin. I'll show you kind of a little story. When I was in 8th grade, I read this poem called Astrophil and Stella. Well, it's a sonnet cycle, actually. I only read the first one. And it was my favorite poem, actually, what got me into English. And there was this one line that goes, and I sought fit words to paint the blackest face of woe. And while that sounds really dramatic, my poem isn't about the blackest face of woe. But when I started writing this piece, I really did not know what to say, or what I wanted to say, or how to say it. But at the end of this poem, the last 2 lines, the rhyming couplet, where everything sort of resolves itself. The poet goes, Sir Philip Sidney, he says, biting my truant pen, beating myself for spite, fool, said my muse to me, look in thy heart and write. And as cheesy as that sounds, those are my favorite lines in all of poetry, no matter how much I love Shakespeare. But that's sort of what I tried to do with this poem. I tried to see where it went, and yeah, so here it is. I hope you like it. It's, yeah, like I said, it's called Requiem for a Party of One and a Few Other People. Some physicists say that time is an illusion, and I'm inclined to believe them. Now, I'm a mathematician, so I can do some pretty great things with symbols and numbers, but words aren't exactly my forte, so bear with me. I'm going to tell you a little story about time, about love, about a little bit of despair, about a short little ignorant life and this mathematician's interpretation of it all. Now I bring it up a lot, my aptitude with numbers and symbols, but only because it was of absolutely zero help to what happened next. Because numbers, symbols, and the logical operators don't help you when your mother suddenly tells you she wants to die, when you're holding your friend in a hysterical state, when the people formerly closest to your heart scream at you in despair at how you're such a disappointment, a failure, and you hold them down for simply being who you are. Now, when I was a kid, I looked my mother in the eye and watched her tell me her biggest fear, not really knowing it had already come true. I watched a movie too and explored deep crevices of my mind to dig them out and uproot them, not wanting the thing my mother feared to be true. I sit at my piano and think rather egotistically, why do all the great artists have to be gay? And immediately take it back. My 15-year-old self desperately hoping that although I was only mediocre at playing the piano, that it wasn't true, that I was just quote-unquote normal, like everyone else. And you can only guess how my mother reacted hearing those 3 simple words. My father wasn't too happy either. But the physicists are right, time is just an illusion. It's been 1.5 years since that damn day Walking down de Maisonneuve, the echoes of screaming cars and my mother's anguished voice drowning it all. But it's okay. Time heals all wounds. Time's just an illusion. And every time I look at her face, like a reopened wound, we scream and yell, only to go out to dinner and pretend like nothing ever happened. It's like Blanche from Street Cutting Desire. We scream and yell and go out to dinner like nothing ever happened. And there were many dinners. Cheap beer and poutine. A stranger sits across from me. As I watch the ticking hands of my watch move ever slowly, my heart ticking and talking to its beat. Occasionally, the stranger would hold my hand, make the clock go faster. Hands ever accelerating and time suddenly moving by faster than my logical brain or thumping heart could keep up. Time is an illusion, they tell you, and my mathematical head tries to make sense of it all. But they don't make sense. The strangers, captivating as they are, suddenly disappear one by one, each one squeezing more air out of my lungs than the one before, and I feel the blood in my veins drain of oxygen, the stranger's hands pulling the charger apart. And I think to myself, you slut, you whore. Another one in your bed, and the next day, the only trace of him that he ever existed is in your head, because God only knew you'd never see him again. But it's okay, you tell yourself. You'll move on, you'll survive. Your emotional horrible self will move on, because time heals everything, right? But wait, time is an illusion, it's a dream, all of it. And I'm just hoping I'll wake up soon.